Welcome back everyone. Welcome back to this new video. Today I want to talk about how I apply first principles thinking to a risk analysis in a QA project. So let's assume that a new project comes up and we have to actually understand the context and our risk-based approach for this specific project. Usually we have two paths that we can follow. So the first one and the most used one is to analyze existing projects, as we can see here, with a similar experience. So the common projects that we tackled in a previous company or in the same company, and understand what to do first. What can go wrong by thinking in this way? It's not always the wrong path, I want to say this first of all, but generally doesn't address directly the outcome that we want to get. And the scariest part is that this is the thinking framework that is most widely used across the industry. So the path number two is that we analyze the project from first principles based on our QA context. So what does it actually mean? So let's make up an example. In this case, we join a new QA project and we have a banking mobile app. If we use analogy as our first thinking pattern, this is what will happen. The QA team says, let's prioritize the login, registration, and transfer flows, because we've seen in the past that those are usually the riskiest. Why? Because similar apps were tested in this way and produced good results. So the previous examples justify the actual approach. And the outcome might be that the actual test feels complete, but the root problem of security, compliance, in financial regulation isn't addressed as early as possible. So the real business risk is actually missed. However, if we start to reason by first principles, and now we'll boil down what does it actually mean, we just look at the facts of our specific project independently of any analogy or past experience. So we know in a banking mobile app that the app handles sensitive financial data, that any data leakage leads to legal or reputational risks, compliance is non-negotiable, and fines are really huge. Therefore, we can say that the riskiest areas are not the login flow or UX, but actually the data encryption, the token storage, and the API vulnerabilities. Building up from these facts, what we know is that our test plan, first of all, might focus on broken access control, data persistence and logging, and API response behavior. So the conclusion is that we design a QA risk strategy that aligns with real business risks. And we create immediate value for our team by mitigating the root problem and not the surface level issues. If we go back, so this is how we can directly address the root problem of our project and find the solution to the actual underlying issues. And we do this by knowing the underlying truth about a specific industry or sector and our own application. And we reject anything that is the past experience and analogies by previous projects. We know that each project is very complex by itself and also unique. I'm not saying that we should always use the first principles thinking and discard past analogies, but I'm doing this because in our industry, the scary thing is that the first method, the analogy-based thinking method in the QA space, is the most used one. So we should actually find a compromise and bring the two thinking patterns together to find the best solution. So now, by using an analogy-based approach plus a first principle thinking method, we can actually discover how our risk strategy will look like and actually tackle the root problem. So this is the problem solution fit, and that's all for today's video. Thank you.